Hey, good morning, guys. Yes, it is. It's Thursday, the 14th of May. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about when it comes to diagnosing and stuff. A lot of times it's your visual inspection to see what you're looking at. But also in life, it's kind of like systematic. If sometimes the symptoms don't add up, but stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Thursday, May 14th of 2026. So, what the heck am I talking about this morning? Well, I did some videos yesterday on a lot of times if you take the time to do a visual inspection before you go diving in, even before you do your 4 point, diagnostic, you could save yourself a lot of time and money. Okay. And my goal in my shop is to save my customers their money. It's very valuable to them and it means a lot to me if I can get them a quality repair job for a reasonable price, right? If you start throwing parts at stuff because you're doing it based on the symptoms, you could be totally in left field before you get done and still not be any closer to what is really going on. I had mentioned yesterday about just where we had brought in this Cub Cadet and it would start and quit, start and quit. And it was just simply by taking the cowl off and doing a visual walk around it, the fuel pump hose going to the valve cover had come out. And so the fuel pump wasn't working. By putting it back in, it solved that issue. And then we could address and do our diagnostic, our 4 point to make sure everything was good before we started the service and then went ahead with the service. Okay. Sometimes it's not that easy. Okay. It's sometimes you got to do a lot of hen pecking. Sometimes you got to do a lot of looking deeper, of course. You know, trying to, well, take our health, for instance. The worst person to diagnose is yourself. I learned that the hard way, and so did you, Amos. And many of you out there are probably the same way. Is that if you start trying to treat the symptoms, or in some cases totally disregard them, then something has got to give, right? But if you had caught it early on when things weren't as bad, it could have been a different outcome. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have needed the quadruple heart bypass. I'm just saying that it could have been not as bad, okay? Who knows? I'm not a doctor. I don't play a doctor, and I mean, I was an EMT for many, many years for a volunteer fire department and went on a lot of cardiac calls where it'd be just me in the back with the patient. I knew the signs, I knew the symptoms, I knew the red flags. And yet, they say that the worst patient is a nurse or a doctor because they're always second guessing you. That is so true. Now, the doctor's trying to do his best by you, and you're trying to tell them they don't know squat, right? But that's how, when you approach doing small engine repair, and I would assume the same thing follows with automotive is that the more you're exposed to it, the more things you see, the more things you've seen over your period of working as a mechanic, the better you become. But there are a lot of instances where people are doing it wrong. Like yesterday, we were talking about just because you become faster doesn't mean that it's better. You could be doing it faster wrong than you did before instead of finding out what the correct way is and then simply addressing that, right? So there's a lot of things that when it comes to small engine repair that we don't talk about because they don't happen that often, I guess. And that's like a sheared keyway on the flywheel or a bent one. Bent ones are a little harder, but it throws the time, it throws it out of whack. And you'll get a lot of, I noticed that when Tecumsehs were well known for this, but you get about half, three quarters of a pull, and then it snapped the rewind right out of your hand because it wasn't firing when it should. It was firing either too soon or too late, causing it to kick back. The only way you're going to find that out is by taking the top off and looking at the flywheel. And if in doubt, we pop the flywheel, put a new key in it, reset it, and once we're in there, we might as well put a new keyway in there if that was a remote possibility of even being a little bit bent. But if you base your mechanical skills and your repair skills by going by symptoms only instead of doing a diagnostic, what are you really doing? Instead of, putting out the fire or the fire starter, you're going to be chasing fires, okay? Because something here could be causing all this other stuff to be taking place. And I know a lot of it is experience, okay? But if you're out here trying to fix all these things that are on the fringe and you're not addressing the main problem that's causing it all, you will never find a fix, I guess is the right answer. And why is that? Well, it's because you spent all your time replacing parts on stuff that you saw as symptoms instead of dealing with the real issue. And going and buying a new carburetor because it's not running right or it won't start or what have you, and putting it on and finding out that doesn't change anything. If the fuel is still present and it's got water in it, no amount of carburetor, spark plugs, anything are going to change your outcome. Not until you put fresh fuel in it. You're going to crank and crank and crank, and you're going to get pissed and throw it around a few times. So, what's the better way? The better way is to have a system in place in your shop, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, a system in place of where you tackle each job the same way. Same way. The initial, do a visual inspection. On a lot of things, it could be very simply a fuel line has come loose or it's cracked. Primer bulb is kind of giving way and it shows sign. Primer bulbs are cheap. You should be changing those out every couple of years anyways. And you start looking to see if you see anything that's kind of looks out of place. If all that passes where things look good, then we could go on to our diagnostic, okay? And during that diagnostic, I had a guy say, well, if you have compression, fire, fuel, and air, it could still be like a keyway. Yes, it could. but we're eliminating all the biggies that could be causing an issue. And if we take care of those so that we know that the engine is square or sound, then we start having to dig in deeper. Okay. And the 4 point anybody can do. Anybody. If you got to dig in deeper, a lot of times if you don't know what you're doing, it's farther ahead to send it to a qualified mechanic in small engine that you trust, that has experience to address it for you. We talked about here last week about the guy that, the shop is getting bigger money. Now, I'd rather have a seasoned mechanic on staff because they can knock things out in a hurry. They've seen a lot of things. Do they make mistakes? Yes, we all do. We're human. But the chances of getting led off a strave dealing with symptoms is less likely to happen with a seasoned mechanic, one that's been around the block a few times. He's already chased his umpteen fire starters, the symptoms, and found out that it had nothing to do with them, that it was just a symptom of a bigger issue. Curious to you guys in the comments, how do you guys approach a machine that you're working on? Are you just pressure wash it? If you pressure wash it, we do. Take the cowl off and then just start doing your diagnostic, or do you take the time to walk around? I've got a clipboard and I walk around. I'm looking at, does it need blades? Does it need belts? I'm getting the model number off that unit and bringing the schematics up out front on my computer and ordering the parts that I know that visually that it needs. And then Claude will do it the once over on it, and we'll get together and yes, this is what it needs. Do we have it in stock? I'll look, see if we have it in stock. If we don't, I get it on the order for the following day. That's kind of how we've done it and do it. And we work first in, first out. So whichever one came first to the shop is going to be the first one out unless we're waiting for parts for it. And there's going to be sometimes, guys, I'm telling you right now, you got to either, pick your battles. And that is sometimes when you and the customer both know that it's the customer's fault for an issue, that after it went out, it came back, just go ahead and fix it. It may cost a little coin now, and the customer is kind of saving face, even though they know they hit something. Just go ahead and fix it and move on. It's not worth, and you'll gain a loyal customer that will come back every year because you took care of an issue that even you knew wasn't your issue to start with. But how does that relate so much in life? In life, it's kind of like picking a scab. If you leave the scab alone, give it a chance to heal, it will heal and do fine. But if you keep picking at it, you're going to keep open sores on you, right? Put some triple antibiotic on it, put a freaking Band-Aid on it, and leave it alone. That's kind of my philosophy. But one of the things that, people get wrong is they'll do the 4-point and fuel is the issue. Dump the fuel out, put fresh fuel in, and then I get, well, it's doing the same thing after I changed the fuel. And my next question is going to be, did you drain the fuel line from the fuel tank to the fuel pump? And did you drain the fuel line from the fuel pump to the carburetor? And did you drain the carburetor of all fluid? Because if you didn't, you've still got the water present in your system. No matter how much you try, it's not going to start because your carburetor is still soaked up with water. Your fuel lines have got water in it. And until you drain the complete system, not just fuel tank, you need to get all the fuel, bad fuel out before you chalk it up to saying that it's not the fuel. I see this a lot. People will swap the fuel out, but they won't take the time to drain all the rest of it. The other thing that I want to talk about, and I was telling Claude, I said, you guys are a dying breed, and that are people that can look at a machine and diagnose it versus have to have a computer to tell them what the problem is. And we had this instance with one of our neighbors come down, and he's got a Bobcat mini excavator. And it's a newer one. He keeps it in really beautiful shape. But he was telling us that it would start and then it would quit with the overheat code. And it wouldn't stay running long enough to overheat. So he asked us if we could come take a look at it. So we did. We went up and took a quick look at it and told him that, there was a local fella that worked for the Bobcat dealership. I thought maybe he'll work off the clock and see if he can't diagnose it faster than us. No, he had Bobcat pick it up, take it back to the Bobcat dealership, and they were talking $2,500 in just labor to take that engine out because they were sure that it was a head gasket that it needed and to put it back in. Now, Claude goes by Diagnostic. He hasn't got any special fandango tools. And the first question Claude had was, when you take the cap off from the radiator, is it bubbling? And he's asking that because if you have a head gasket issue, usually it'll bubble in the radiator because it's getting air. And the answer was no. So told him that good chances are, it sounds like you have a bad thermostat. So the guy went and bought a brand new thermostat and put it in, and voila, it fixed all of his problems. You guys that are really good from years back of being able to diagnose things by listening to it and following your, what's the right word, nose like a beagle, but you're listening and you're doing checks to see, ruling things out as you go. Those guys are the ones that we're going to miss the most because they are. Most of them are anywhere from 55 and up. And none of the younger generation is interested in learning how to do what they're doing. And you can't replace that level of experience with any computer or AI out there. The book told the people at Bobcat that it was clearly a head gasket when it wasn't. It was a thermostat. And the thermostat, I think, was right around $7 plus an hour of his time versus, $2,500 just for labor on a head gasket. Just something to give thought to, that things that make you go home. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We got all the burger all done, all packaged and all in the freezer, and thank goodness it's done because I'm sick of it. Hopefully today will go a little bit easier and we'll get more stuff done. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday.